What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we're going to wrap up our very first week of John Wayne Westerns with Hondo, starring John Wayne, Geraldine Page, Ward Bond, Michael Pate, James Arness, Rodolfo Acosta, Leo Gordon, and Lee Aker. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, today we wrap up our very first week of John Wayne Westerns, and we're going to be discussing Hondo. And as our movie opens, homesteader Angie Lowe and her 6-year-old son Johnny are doing their chores when Hondo Lane arrives, carrying his saddlebags and rifle, accompanied by his dog Sam. Now, he was riding dispatch for the United States Army Cavalry and had an encounter with Indians, and he lost his horse. Hondo then offers to work for a little while in order to earn a horse from her farm, and Angie agrees. Afterward, Angie says several times that her husband is away herding cattle, and Hondo eventually confronts her with proof, evidence that her husband has been gone much longer than she claims, judging by the condition of the ranch as well as the horses. He tries to encourage her to pack up and return with him to the Army fort, since the treaty with the Apache Indians has been broken and they are planning a war. However, Angie believes that her long-standing friendship with the Apaches will keep her safe. That night, she notices Hondo's name on his rifle and remembers hearing stories about him killing 3 men. She threatens him with an unloaded gun, and Hondo loads it for her. Now, as Hondo prepares to leave, he mentions that he once lived with the Apache and he had an Apache wife. He tells Angie that she reminds him of his wife, and he kisses her before he goes. She is confused and upset by all this, of course, because she is married. But Hondo insists that people ought to do what they feel is right, and then he leaves for the fort. Shortly thereafter, the Apaches come by the ranch, led by Chief Vitoro and Silva. When Vitoro touches Angie, Johnny gets the gun that Hondo loaded and he shoots at Silva. Although he misses, Vitoro is impressed with his bravery and makes him a blood brother. Vitoro insists that a brave child such as Johnny should have a father, and he leaves. Hondo returns to the fort and he sees Buffalo Baker, a fellow scout. He then reports to the major that C Troop was completely wiped out by Apaches, and he then has an encounter with an angry settler who is upset that the cavalry isn't doing more to protect the settlers. Later on in a saloon, Hondo gets into a fight with the same settler. Baker tells Hondo that the man is Ed Lowe, and Hondo realizes that he is Angie's absent husband. Meanwhile, Vitoro, who is sure that Angie's husband is dead, gives her an ultimatum to take an Apache husband by the rainy season. The next morning, Ed Lowe accuses Hondo of stealing his horse after seeing the E.L. brand. His friends defend Hondo, who immediately leaves to return the horse to the ranch. Upset about the fight and the horse, Ed follows Hondo in order to try and bushwhack him. While camped out, Hondo is set upon by Apache who also attack Ed. In the confusion, Hondo saves Ed's life, but when he turns his back, Ed draws his gun and Hondo kills him. He finds out that Ed was clutching a photograph of Johnny, which he takes. In the ensuing chase, the Apache capture and torture Hondo for information about the cavalry's movements. But when Vittorio sees the photo of his blood brother, he decides to subject Hondo to a one-on-one fight to the death with Silva, whose brother Hondo killed. Hondo is victorious, but lets Silva live. The Apache then drop Hondo off at the ranch where Angie lies about the fact that he is her husband. Hondo and Angie then begin to grow close as he recuperates, and Hondo attempts to reveal the truth about her husband's death, but is interrupted by Vittorio's return. The chief tells them that the pony soldiers will come soon. Vittorio then asks them to mislead the cavalry as a test, but Hondo refuses to lie and deceive them, satisfying Vittorio's request. Angie then admits that she loves Hondo, and they kiss. The next day, the cavalry arrive at the ranch and they expect Angie to leave, but she and Hondo refuse. While they camp, another scout tries to blackmail Hondo for his Winchester rifle, as he says that he will tell Angie how Hondo killed her husband if he doesn't give him the rifle. Hondo punches him, but Angie overhears all of this. The cavalry eventually leave, and Hondo stays behind. Hondo prepares to leave, but first, he has to tell Angie the truth about her husband's death. Hondo then wants to tell Johnny, but Angie persuades him not to, admitting that she no longer loved her husband. She says it would be unkind to tell the boy the truth about his father's death, and that the secret will not follow them to Hondo's ranch in California. Hondo responds to her emotional plea with an Indian word that seals an Apache wife-seeking ceremony, Varlabania, which he tells her means forever. The cavalry return to the ranch, having killed Vittorio in battle, but having their commanding officer badly wounded. While the Apache regroup, Hondo, Angie, and Johnny join the wagon train and head for the fort. The Apaches catch up, and the cavalry, now led by Hondo, circle the wagons and counterattack. Hondo kills Silva, their new leader, and the Apaches scatter, giving the settlers and soldiers a chance to escape. The wagon train then regroups and proceeds to the fort, with Hondo remaining in command as our movie comes to its end. When comparing this movie to the other two movies I talked about this week, The Big Trail and Stagecoach, respectively, I would put Hondo somewhere in the middle of those two. Again, we had a nice solid story, but there were just a few parts that really seemed to drag, much like in The Big Trail. It didn't just flow as effortlessly as it did in Stagecoach. And that kind of bored me a little bit and, took away from the storytelling for me. Because you can have a great story as long as it flows and it doesn't feel like it's taking a long time to develop. Again, we've discussed a couple times this week already. I love me some long-term storytelling. But the story also has to be paced properly. And therein lies the key. Great story that, if paced properly, would have made this probably better than Stagecoach. But alas, because of the pacing issues, because of the fact that you felt the time that it was taking, I've got to drop it back some. I still think it's better than The Big Trail, but it's definitely not better than Stagecoach, in my opinion. I thought that the actors did a great job here. John Wayne did an amazing job as Hondo. Ward Bond, who is probably best known for being Bert in It's a Wonderful Life, is the Buffalo Baker here, the other scout. He did an awesome job, and if memory serves me correctly, Ward Bond's name will probably come up again a couple more times here as we do John Wayne month, because I know he worked with John Wayne a few times. But overall, it was a good story that just took a little too long to get moving and really flesh out the meat and potatoes of the story. So when it comes to my rating for this one, I gave The Big Trail 2 stars. I gave Stagecoach, I believe, 3.5 stars. I'm going to give this 2.5 stars. And again, it's a timing and a pacing issue for me. Long-term storytelling is great as long as you don't feel the time that you're sitting there watching the story. Therefore, 2.5 out of 5 stars for me. What do you guys think of Hondo? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. And if you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right here to the Casa D18 Studios channel for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And it's new release Saturday. We're going to be taking a look at the Disney Plus original film, Peter Pan and Wendy, starring Alexander Maloney, Ever Anderson, Jude Law, Jim Gaffigan, Molly Parker, Alan Tudyk, Yara Shahidi, John DeSantis, and so many others. And then later on in the day, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, it'll be time once again to open up the doors for the Saturday night shenanigans that are Open Mic Night. Myself, the Simple Man Noah Foster, the Heeb Man James Hebert, the West Coast Professor Jeff Meacham will all be there in attendance this week as we discuss the latest news developments in the week that is professional wrestling. And of course, that'll be preceded by our live watch-along coverage of Backlash from San Juan, Puerto Rico, as the Simple Man Noah Foster and myself come together to call the action of the latest WWE Premium Live event. You don't want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on the Jeff Meacham Network, across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, Peter Pan and Wendy, Backlash PLE coverage, Open Mic Night, and so much more still in store right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. So make sure you smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, or anytime we go live, as is the case with Open Mic Night, pay-per-view PLE coverage, Stat Boy Sports Bar, and so much more. Make sure you share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of John Wayne, fans of Ward Bond, fans of classic 50 westerns, anybody you can think about that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them. It's the only way we're going to keep my visibility up in YouTube's algorithms, especially now that we are a monetized platform. Thank you once again to everybody out there who joined me and tuned in today. It means so much more to me than you guys will ever know. And I will see you guys next time.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.